Well, good morning, everyone. It is just the most wonderful day here in Pennsylvania, and I'm going to show you why. Last night, my girlfriend who owns Ken's Gardens here in southern PA texted me and said, "Hey Danielle, all your shrubs from Reuben Winter's Color Choice Shrubs came in. Come pick them up." So last night, I took the truck down to her nursery and loaded them up, and today I just wanted to show you what I received from them. And I didn't really plan to make a video of this at all, but it crossed my mind after posting a mature picture of the Tiny Wine 9 bark on Instagram, just to maybe walk around also and show you some of these shrubs or other shrubs I have from them at a more mature state, so that if you're going to be purchasing one of these shrubs, you can see what they're going to look like 3, 4, even 5 years on. So if you don't mind, we just have to look at this Tiny Wine 9 bark once more. You know, when I first planted this, we had no intent of putting a fence here because we didn't have any dogs at the time. But once we put the fence in, I felt like the Tiny Wine 9 bark was even more of a spectacular shrub because of the way it just spills beautifully over the fence. And I mean, look at that color. I can't think of any other shrub that gives you this foliage color, blooms, seed heads, and I'm pretty sure the 9 bark is deer resistant. I'll correct myself on the screen if I'm wrong. But now let's head into the garden and we can take a look at what I've got here. Now about half of this is for our garden and the other half is for my parents, because my parents only moved to the area about 2 years ago and they have pretty much a blank slate in their backyard. So I'm sure what we're all looking at first is these Tough Stuff hydrangeas. I do have a few of these on the property that I can show you already. And you know what I think is going to be really interesting? These came in pink, so they're obviously growing in more alkaline soil in their cans, but we have quite acidic soil here. So I know they'll turn blue, but the question I'm wondering is how long until they turn blue. So I think that will be a really interesting experiment to watch these guys and see how quickly they adapt to our soil and how quickly their flower color changes. I'm really not sure. So these are all for Gracie's garden, the new shade garden that I'm creating. So the next thing I want to show you are these beautiful, oh, did you see that bee right there? Are these beautiful Invincible spirit hydrangeas. This is a beautiful smooth hydrangea with a pink bloom that's absolutely spectacular. And I thought this would be a really good example of what you might purchase at the nursery versus what it's going to look like 4 years later. So let me just grab one of these. And let's walk down to my more mature Invincible Spirit 2 hydrangea so you can see the difference. It's a really nice overcast day today, very wet, so I don't think I'll be able to do any planting. But here's an Invincible Spirit 2 hydrangea that I put in about 3 to 4 years ago. I'm thinking 4 years is probably more accurate, but it's definitely 4 by 4 feet at this point. Possibly even a little bit larger than that. Maybe I need to get out my measuring tape. But when this guy is in full bloom, it's absolutely spectacular. And I just hope that it helps you to see this guy, what we're going to be planting later on this week, versus the mature size. I hope that helps. Okay, let's go back to the shrub stash. Gracie wants to come. She's been liking the clematis. Uh-oh, she thinks we're gonna go somewhere now. They look good, don't they, Grace? So the next one I want to show you is called Fine Wine Weigela. I'm pretty sure this one doesn't come out till next year, so keep your eye out for it in 2022. But look at the beautiful purple foliage color on this. Nice bright pink blooms earlier on in the season. If you're looking for a shrub that blooms about the time as your irises and your alliums, that's when I noticed that our more mature Weigelas are blooming. And I can show you, a lot of the older Weigelas are quite big. Mine's already bloomed, but can you see this shrub here behind the birdhouse. I'll post a picture of when it was in bloom, but it's really quite a spectacular show there in the very early spring, the Weigelas. Bless you, Grace. Next up, we can take a look at these viburnums. This is All That Glitters and then All That Glows viburnum. So we've got a male and a female that work together to give us the beautiful blueberries. And I was hoping to get these especially so that we can work those berries into floral arrangements. Not only does it give us a berry, but it gives us a blueberry. And don't we all just love to use blue in floral arrangements? So here's a beautiful holly called Castle Keep. This is the female, so she'll get the berries. I also have Castle Wall already planted in the garden to pollinate her. But this is a nice small holly if you want some evergreen interests but don't have a lot of space. And I just kind of want to tuck this into the garden somewhere. I'm not even totally sure where I'm going to put it yet. But those are all the shrubs that are going to be going in my garden, guys. So now let's take a look at the shrubs that are going over to my parents' house. And I can show you a few mature specimens of some of these. So my mom requested some winter berries, so I ordered for her berry Poppins, which is right there. And then you want to go ahead and get the pollinator. That's Mr. Poppins, so that you can get berries on berry Poppins. So you can see the size of a brand new baby. Now let's travel down here and see one. I think the one I have now is about 3 years old. So let's take a look at her. And how about this Winecraft Gold smoke bush on the way down here? Isn't that spectacular? Let me just set the baby down here. So here's berry Poppins about 3 years in. I think we have a little more height and width to get on this. I'm pretty sure it gets about 3 to 4 feet tall and wide. So you can see it gets beautiful flowers in the spring, and then those will turn into berries as long as we have Mr. Poppins in order to pollinate it. So the way I like to handle these plants that need a male and a female, and the female only gets the berries, is I usually put the female in the front of the border. And then over on this side, behind this lemony lace elderberry, do you see that tiny shrub back there? That's Mr. Poppins. So Mr. Poppins is back there. He's doing his job, but he's kind of hidden. And then berry Poppins in the winter will get the beautiful berries right here. And I love the look of this in the winter because we have the beautiful Japanese cedar, and then this is just covered in red berries. And then we also have this Limelight Hydrangea. So we actually have a lot of winter interest here because I leave the Limelight Hydrangea heads on this plant. Then we have the beautiful berries of berry Poppins, and then we have this beautiful Japanese cedar. So I really am happy with this grouping here. Okay, let's see what else we've got. We've got some roses that are going to stay on the smaller side, and I was really thankful that they were able to send me 3 of these. I tend to like to do groupings of 3, 5, and 7 in my garden. I think that makes a nice impact. So these are the Oh So Easy Italian Ice Roses, and they were in bloom. I deadheaded them last night, but I'll put a picture on the screen of what they look like. And they stay pretty small, I think about 2 to 2.5 feet tall and wide, so you can really tuck these guys in anywhere and get a nice drift of roses. So the last thing that we have over here is a Sparky pink clematis. It's already bloomed, so I'll put a picture of how beautiful it is on the screen. I believe it's also coming out next year. But my mom requested this because, do you see the birdhouse there in the distance from Good Directions that I have? I ordered the bird feeder in white for my mom, and she has that over at her house. And so she is going to grow the Sparky pink clematis up her bird feeder. And I think that'll just be beautiful. So she'll have some nice vertical height going there with some beautiful blooms to work with as well. Well guys, I'm just so thankful to have all these beautiful shrubs to work with and to gift to my mom. But let me just show you a couple more shrub highlights so that if you're shopping at the nursery and you see some of these guys in their nursery can, you can at least see a little bit of video footage of what they look like after a few years of being in the landscape. So I had, oh yeah, remember how some people say, how do you keep grace out of your garden? Yeah, the answer is it just doesn't happen. You do what you want, right, Grace? This here is a gold mound spirea, and I put this in very early on. There's a possibility this guy is 5 years old at this point. Here I have my oldest Limelight Hydrangea. It's much taller than me at this point. We've got the Winecraft Gold Smoke Bush and 2 lemony lace elderberries. Back here, and she hasn't really taken off yet, is ginger wine 9 bark, and she tends to bloom a little bit later than the tiny wine 9 bark. Here's another Limelight Hydrangea, which is a little bit younger than that first one. Here we have the Annabelle Hydrangea. And then I just moved over from the front yard another Limelight Hydrangea, which is even younger, because I'm trying to establish a little more repetition here in the garden. Since I do so many plants in the landscape grown from seed for the purpose of cutting, I want to establish a little bit of repetition so that since there's so many holes, at least we have some kind of consistency that's always here. So hopefully you can see it, but we've got Limelight, 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 and then another Limelight on that side. So I'm kind of relying on these Limelights as kind of the bones of this garden in a way. And then I believe I've just showed you the hydrangea garden the other day. And I just can't wait to show you this all in full bloom later on this month. But of course we have Invincible Spirit 2 Hydrangea, Haas Halo Hydrangea, this is a Limetta Hydrangea. This one is not at maturity yet. I put this one in last year. And then you can see some hydrangeas which are still very young for contrast. So for instance, we have the mini Mauvette Hydrangea. This one is Firelight Tidbit Hydrangea. So I really hope that helps, guys, especially if you're shopping for a new shrub, or especially, you know, a tree also. It's so nice to be able to see a mature specimen of a tree in real life before you go and purchase it. You know, like for instance, I see a lot of people around here planting the Coosa dogwood really close to their house, and my guess is that they've just never seen a mature specimen before. So if you can Google what it looks like in time and really kind of space it out, I think that's really helpful so that you don't have to worry about moving really big shrubs and trees later on. Well guys, thanks so much for spending a little bit of time out here in the garden with me and Grace. I'm so thankful to have all these shrubs to work with and to gift to my parents. I'll be sure to include you as we plant some of these things and show you how they grow throughout the years. I think the first thing I'll do is plant the Invincible Spirit 2 hydrangeas behind the swing, because I want to get that border established as soon as possible. So let me show you where those are going to go. So the hydrangeas are going to go behind the swing here in the driveway garden. I made sure to measure before I ordered them, so we'll be able to have 5 here and have a nice hedge of Invincible Spirit 2 hydrangea. So have a really nice contrast, those pink hydrangeas and the white Coosa dogwood. Well guys, I think I'll wrap the video up here for the day. I have a few buckets of ranunculus and delphinium inside that I need to make arrangements with. I've got a birthday party this weekend and also someone who's leaving a job, and they've requested a really elaborate arrangement for that person. So that's what I'll be getting up to this weekend, and then hopefully by Monday we can start planting some of these beautiful shrubs together. So I want to wish you a wonderful day out in your gardens, and of course, happy gardening. Bye.